event this evening here with the City of Bethany, our home. And so grateful. Again, Matt Montgomery with the Tribune, one of the co-sponsors for this evening. We are also very grateful to have with us this evening as our moderator, Scott Mitchell. Scott has a long history in Oklahoma politics. He is an attorney and also hosts Workout Counts on News 9 every week. And also
I have no felony record.
He's also really funny. So I think we will have a good time this evening. It's a very serious time here in Bethany. And with that, we will turn it over to Scott.
Thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Why aren't you home watching The Bachelor? Don't you know what's important in life? All right. So my understanding is we're going to start with opening statements, correct? Is that what we start off with right now? So we'll try to keep this all together. What time are we supposed to be calling it quits? About 8 o'clock? All right. We'll try to keep the trains moving. And thank you for coming out and being involved. You know, this civic involvement, you know what it leads to, don't you? Showing up on nighttime cable TV somewhere in your life. So you asked for it, so here you got it. So thank you all for your service and are trying to serve. Come from a long line of those people. It skipped a generation with me. And so I'm delighted to be here. Well, I understand we're going to start with the mayor's race. We're going to have opening statements for 90 seconds and be delighted to get started. Now, I believe the first person to go this evening, and I'll apologize in advance if I mess up anybody's name. So my understanding on this, Ms. McCartney, would be I would start with KP Westmoreland. Is that correct?
And that was by draw.
By draw, okay. KP Westmoreland, opening statements for 90 seconds.
Hi, thanks for coming. I believe a great leader is one that surrounds himself with experts that do their job on a day in and day out basis that will willingly give you their guidance in the areas of their expertise. I've ridden around in a garbage truck here in our city to seek the expertise of our sanitation workers on how we can clean up our city. I've gotten to know some of our firemen on what they deal with in maneuvering through our city to keep us safe. Several times I've ridden around with police officers and I see what they deal with on a day in and day out basis with their dangerous job that they deal with. Since I decided to run for mayor, I've had a weekly meeting with our city manager, J.D. Cox, so that I can dig in with the issues that we're facing as a city so that we can find out what we need to do to be more business friendly and more successful as a community. What I've done in my professional career has been help people to overcome, help them to see a vision, and help them to succeed. And as mayor, that's exactly what I'll do with our city.
Thank you, sir. Next, Ms. Kathy Larson.
Thank you. Council meetings reflect our image, and as the mayor of this city, I would conduct respectful, good meetings with the council members that understand their roles and work towards finding ways to make service to our city enjoyable for all involved, staff and citizens included. Wheels are already in motion. We have a new city manager that is proactive and aggressive, and he's moving forward. We have blighted and infrastructure issues are already being addressed. We have committees being formed to determine what the citizens want as we move forward with our comp plan. Bethany is already a great city. The community of loving, caring citizens with a pride of the place where they live, work, and educate themselves and their family. To stay great for years and continues to be a passion of mine. My family background, my faith, my work, my time, and my passion make your choice the best. Success in this arena for Bethany is to provide its citizens with services, protection, environment that makes one proud and a feeling of security to live, work, educate, and grow in Bethany. That, my friends, is success. That, my friends, is what I, as mayor, wish for Bethany. In the end, this is the city's victory. The games played are merely the steps to get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. Moving to Ward number 1, we'll start off with Paul Todd. Mr. Todd.
Good evening, and we're glad to see such a big turnout for this event. I'm very pleased to see, I was not expecting this, but I'm very pleased to see the turnout. I have been a resident of Bethany since 1968. When I got out of the service, I came here to go to school. Been here ever since. And I have served on the Bethany Planning and Zoning Commission for 20 years and 2 months. Also served a one pull on the city council for a 4-year term. And I would like to try one more time. And that I will tell you now, I'll be a one-term council person. So I will term limit myself out with this one term. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. Your opponent is not here this evening. Am I correct on that? All right. Well, we'll move to Ward number 2, and drawing first, in first place would be Steve Palmer.
I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Can everybody hear me? In my life, in my family, in my career, I've always wanted to come up with a plan. And with a plan, you know what you're doing and you know what you're trying to accomplish. Everybody feels better with a plan. You want to work to complete certain things on time. You can see where you started, you can see the progress, and you can see what you've accomplished. The city of Bethany is in the same situation. We have a plan. It's the 2030 comprehensive plan. We know how we can improve the city. We know how we can generate more sales tax revenue. We can have new districts. We can have new tax increment financing. We know how to clean up our city, but we need the courage to move forward. We need to grow. We need to improve. We need to set deadlines. We need to make to-do lists to implement the comprehensive plan. I want to help the residents of Ward 2 improve their neighborhood by implementing this plan. My opponent was the only city council member who did not vote for the comprehensive plan. I want to use that. I want to allow the comprehensive plan to be our road to success. Bethany should be a showcase. We need to be able to be proud of who we are and what we have and what we can do together. That's why I'm running for city council.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Next candidate, Kathy Holloway.
Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. I am your city council representative. I have been for 20 years. When I was sitting in Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb's office in 2014, he told me Bethany is the jewel of the metro area. I had already been on the council for many years when he told me that. This is coming from the gentleman that goes throughout our state and promotes cities to have businesses come into the city. And that's what I was in Todd Lamb's office, was to ask him to help promote the city of Bethany. Whenever my opponent states that I did not vote for the comprehensive plan, the reason I did not vote for that was that particular company had never worked with a city our size or with the borders that we have, which we're enclosed. We don't have any growth areas to go outside of our 5-mile square. So that was something that I did to help protect our city. I do want to go forward with the comprehensive plan at this point. We have the plan, and I do want to see it go forward.
Thank you, Ms. Holloway. Candidate number 3 in Ward number 2, Don Richards.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming this evening to this time of information and good conversation. Again, my name's Don Richards, and I've been in Bethany since 1972 with my family, and I'm currently building another new house, and we have no plans to change or leave. I would go along the same lines as what my counterparts here have said, the comprehensive plan. I am 100% behind the comprehensive plan. I have never talked down about any portion of it. I voted for the library, and I would never talk down about that particular thing. It is a thing that needs to be put in place and driven down the road, not just stood and watched. I was here 20 years ago, sitting on this horseshoe, and I'll tell you, nothing has changed. Matter of fact, my name card probably still would fit in the slot on the top of this wood. Nothing has changed. We're still sitting in a city that's landlocked. We are all here. The citizens are here in Bethany. Developing housing additions and things like that is not in Bethany's future. Remodeling, building new ones where the old ones go and leave is. Bringing business to Bethany is what's going to drive this city. Tax dollars that we can go out and purchase good equipment with.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Let's move to Ward number 3. The first to speak will be Arvell Williams.
Good evening. Could anyone believe that this is winter? Most of you have seen me at the city council meetings. Most of you know that I've been involved with the city politics since I moved into the city. I'm not a long-term resident, but we chose Bethany to live in because I like this city. It is a good city. And a couple of years ago, I got involved in a zoning issue and was very active in the zoning issue with a group of people. And the adage is you can't fight City Hall. We changed things. We fought City Hall and we won. Now, things are changing in Bethany. There were some comments made by some of the candidates that the candidates in the past had been forced upon them. It wasn't that they were forced upon us. It was the fact that no one else was willing to stand up. But I look out here and I see people standing up. We have generated more interest in the past 2 years in the city of Bethany government than as far as I can tell from talking to people who have lived here a long time and forever. That citizen involvement is what we need to make the community go and be bigger and better. Now, we're going to be talking about comprehensive plans. We're going to be talking about TIF zones. We're going to talk about a lot of other technical issues. The point is, we need the citizens to be involved. We need the businesses to be involved. We need to be Bethany.
Thank you, sir. Another candidate for Ward 3, John Herron.
Thank you and good evening. My name is John Herron. I've been married for 12 years and I have 3 boys. I first moved to Bethany in 2003. I own an electrical contracting business here in Bethany. I've been on the council since 2015. In the last 14 months, a lot of big, exciting things have happened in Bethany. We have adopted our new comprehensive plan. We have hired a fantastic new city manager, and we have passed a bond for a new library. Some of the goals I have is making our community more attractive to families and businesses by improving roads, sidewalks, parks. This will encourage businesses to come, grow, and stay in Bethany. Sales tax from those businesses is vital to our sustainability. We also need to continue to work on cleaning up Bethany through code enforcement and upgrading of trash service. It is now also time to begin implementing our comprehensive plan, and I would like to see 1, 3, 5, and 10-year benchmarks in doing so. Obviously, Ward 3 is my primary responsibility, but Bethany as the town is my home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's start with our first question from the audience. We'll start with the candidates for mayor. Mr. Westmoreland, how many years have you lived in Bethany, and what is the most important issue to you as a candidate?
I've lived in Bethany nearly all my life. I was born here, went to elementary school, high school, junior high, what it was called back then, not middle school, and even college, except for just a few years where I made a mistake and lived in Yukon, but I came back to my senses. It's very important for us to clean up this city, and I believe it's important to update and automate our trash system, and I believe it's very important to bring in new business as well as support the loyal businesses that we've had here for years within our city. They need to be more successful. If they thrive and business thrives, then we as a city thrive, because it's the sales tax revenue that we live upon. So we have to be business friendly.
Ms. Larson, same question. How long have you lived here, and what's the biggest issue for you?
Lived here, actually grew up around the area and played in Bethany as a child. I've actually lived and been a homeowner in Bethany for about 35 years. Most important issue in our city, I think, is in moving forward with the advancements that we have already started. To listen to the naysayers say we haven't done anything, I beg to differ. We've done a tremendous amount of work, especially in the last 3 to 4 years. I think it's important that we listen to the citizens, we hear them, we take advisement from them. If we can't respond to them in the manner they desire, I think that we need to give them an explanation as to why. We need to keep Bethany the best, and we do that by listening to the citizens.
Let's go to 1 minute answers. I'm sorry I didn't say that early on. We'll do
I
1
did
minute
not.
answers on these. Mr. Todd, I know you said 1968. By the way, who won the World Series in 1968? It's just,
Not a clue.
but that would be the Detroit Tigers for 50 points. So, for 1 minute, how many years have you said it's 1968? What's the most important issue to you as a candidate?
Well, thank you very much. It was 1968, and we moved here. All three of our children, my wife and I, have been married 52 years, and all three of our children went through all the schools at Bethany, grade school, middle school, high school, college, right here in Bethany. And I'm obviously in love with Bethany. And the most important issues, I think, is to maintain a good, friendly business environment. We need to recruit more business so that we can have more tax revenue, so that we can grow our city services. We have streets that need help. We have open drainage ditches that are poor state of disrepair, and they need attention. So I would like to give some attention to that end.
Thank you, sir. Let's move to Ward number 2, Steve Palmer. Steve, how long have you been in Bethany, and what is the most important issue for you?
I moved to the great city of Bethany in 2010. My kids attended the SNU School for Children, and we realized we wanted to be a part of this community. We were able to buy a house and add on. We found enough space and rooms and beds for everybody in district, and so we've enjoyed getting to know our neighbors, and that's why we want to be a part of this community. It's got great character and great people. The biggest issue related to Ward 2 is big trash pickup. We need more big trash pickup. We have it once a year. If we had it quarterly or monthly, that would be the best situation. We have a lot of junk in our backyards. I do, everybody else does. If we can do that, we can clean up the neighborhood, create some civic pride, and allow each other an opportunity to, tell each other we've got a great community, a great environment to live in. That's what we need to focus in on Ward 2. For citywide, I think obviously it's sales tax revenue. If we have 30 or 40 small businesses that come into Bethany, that would increase our sales tax revenue, so we would not have to get into the water trust and make up the difference. We need sales tax revenue.
Ms. Holloway, same question. Years here, when you came here, and what's the biggest issue?
Moved here in 1960 with my family. I've been here for 57 years. My husband and I and our children went to Bethany Public Schools, member of the 12-year club. The most important issues are, of course, revenue into the city, which we have to look at new ways of increasing revenue, especially since Governor Mary Fallin this evening was talking about taking sales tax off of groceries. So we're going to have to be looking at some new ways of bringing in that revenue. Also, water is a very important thing in the city. You've got to have water and sewage and have your main infrastructure working. And safety, of course, police and fire. I did want to mention, too, the company on the Comp Plan 2030 is now out of business. So for me to have voted no against that is, again, a reason that I did that. And I also asked to get a workable file from that company so that our staff would have a file that was workable so that we could keep our document in top rate order.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Richards, how many years here and biggest issue?
Moved here in 1972, so it'll be about 45 years. My family actually moved here in 42. Biggest issue is sales tax. We need sales tax generated to be able to do the things we want to do. Again, 20 years ago, when I sat on this horseshoe, we had 2 times a year trash pickup. We just, all of a sudden, the price of trash pickup, water goes up, and something goes away. I don't understand that. I mean, it's confusing to me. I would think that you could keep the same services if you were raising rates. But again, sales tax. There's large companies that wanted to come to Bethany, that were wanting to come when I was on the council before. Large grocery stores. We don't have we don't have a good grocery store that's going to have what a lot of people need, and a safe environment. Let me put it that way. I'm concerned about where our businesses are in this town. But again, there was a large grocery store that wanted to locate in Bethany. They didn't. The reason why? The council was too difficult to get around. There was another business, a large business, that wanted to come to Bethany. A home improvement business wanted to come to Bethany or War Acres, and they got the runaround there too. We've lost a lot of business, but yet, for 20 years, we've paid somebody to bring business into Bethany. I believe it was close to $30,000 to $40,000 a year we've paid somebody to bring business into Bethany. And here we sit with nothing. We've got a lot of small businesses, which I believe in.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to Ward number 3, Arvell Williams. Same question. How long here and biggest issue?
I moved in approximately 5 years ago. Bought a house from the long-term residents here. And like I said, we chose Bethany. The largest, there's 2 ward and citywide. The biggest ward issue, as everyone said here, is a lot of people are concerned about big trash big trash pickup. They're getting a little tongue-tied. The problem, as Mr. Richards came in there, is that the city of Bethany also relies heavily on service fees for a lot of their infrastructure, a lot of their payments, a lot of the things they do. So to me, the biggest concern, other than sales tax, is our current water situation. If the city of Bethany loses its water and has to buy more and more from the city of Oklahoma City, a significant amount of our service fees are going to be moving over to the Oklahoma City instead of Bethany. So to me, that's a much bigger sustainability issue than getting in businesses. Businesses are a long-term necessary goal. But if we lose our water over the next 5, 6, 7 years, we're in serious trouble.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Herron.
I first moved here in 2003. I did move away for a few years right after we were married, just right outside of the city limits, and then we quickly came back. One of our biggest issues are sales tax revenue. That drives around a lot of the other issues within the city. Drives around streets, sidewalks, drainage systems. So that is what we must work on, is bringing in sales tax revenue. As far as the water is concerned, we are actually buying less and less water from Oklahoma City. The last time we bought water from Oklahoma City was this summer in July. The previous summer, we were buying it monthly from them. So we are much better off right now than we were a year ago.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go back up to the mayor's office. Question from the audience. What separates you from your opponent and makes you the more ideal candidate?
I believe my upbringing, I'm used to working and dealing with teams and unifying people to be able to not just cast a vision or being a visionary, but being able to get people to see the vision, buy into the vision, but also make the vision become a reality. If it's just a vision, then it's just a dream, and it has to become a reality. I believe that my history, 20 plus years of doing what I do in my career, has helped me to be able to work with people, bring the teams together, and get the job done. And so that's what I think really separates me. That, and I listen.
Ms. Larson.
Repeat the question.
The question is, what separates you from your opponent and makes you a more ideal candidate?
business in the metro area, having born, raised, and working since I was a teenager, not only in the teen type jobs, but actively at a young age working in contractual type of situations for profit and nonprofit, for state and federal government, for manufacturing and construction. I have spent many years getting certified to be a certified municipal official. I have worked on the city. I know how municipal government operates, and moving forward, I think that sets me in line to be a little more ready to respond immediately in situations, yet prudently in the same situations.
Thank you. Let's go to Ward 1. Mr. Todd.
Well, regarding my opponent, kind of like a figment of my imagination, I think. But I started we have a woodworking business, and we started it right here in Bethany, 1979, so I know how to run a business, and it's still going strong today. And I also have a good deal of experience working in the governmental system, in that I have served on the council in the past. I've served on the Bethany Planning and Zoning Commission. And so experience is what would separate me from my figment of the imagination. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's go from 1 in the race to Ward 2. We're 3 candidates. Let's start with Mr. Palmer. What separates you from your opponents, makes you the more ideal candidate?
Well, I'm available. I started the Bethany District Neighborhood Association, and in 3 years, I've provided a voice for the people in Ward 2. We talk about issues, we talk about solutions, we talk about our problems. I can set up communication. As an attorney, I've had experience mediating. I've been able to bring parties together. I've been able to find common ground. I've been able to allow people to work together to get to a point where we can make some progress. Because in litigation especially, not everybody's going to be happy, but in the end, you're going to find some common ground. And I think that's what makes me different from my opponents in this campaign. And I'm the ideal candidate because I can provide a fresh perspective. I've got new eyes on old problems, and I'm ready to solve these problems, and I'm ready to communicate with the people of Ward 2. They need to know when, where, why, how, why we're doing it, and the progress in which we're getting there. I don't think that's happened, and it needs to happen now.
Ms. Holloway.
Thank you. 20 years experience sets me apart from my opponent. In the plan that we have, the Comp 2030 plan, this is a timeline and dates to have things done. We have that. We're working on that. So there's no issue there. There's really no issues in this race this year. Everything that everybody's been talking about and speaking of has been worked on for years and years, and we've got momentum going. It's moving forward, and I want that momentum to keep going. I'm afraid with what we're calling new eyes is going to take us back 5 to 10 years and try to recreate the wheel with things that's already been tried. And we've bought property, we've sold property, we've hired people by contract to bring businesses into Bethany. All these different things have been tried, and I have ideas that will be new. And I again thank you for this time to explain these things.
Thank you. Mr. Richards.
Well, I would say it's my upbringing and my diverse working background. I mean, I've been everything for Ward 2, from your newspaper boy to your florist to your grill cook to just mowing your lawn or whatever it is, and then serving on the council. I would beg to differ as far as whether things have gone the way they should have gone in the last 20 years. Again, I see a vision of good businesses being brought into this town, being open to those businesses, and our sales tax going through the ceiling. I mean, there's cities around us that are doing this on a daily basis, and we're sitting here on land and just looking at it and mowing it and paying to maintain it. So, again, I think my background, as far as that goes, is what sets me apart from everyone.
Thank you. Ward 3, Mr. Williams.
What I do for a living is work on primarily consulting on construction projects, typically for the Corps of Engineers. But I also work for the City of Oklahoma City, and I work on large municipal projects that I've worked in several states. So both from the inside and the outside, I have experience doing things for the city, consulting for cities, helping cities build things. The main thing that sets me apart from John is that years of experience dealing with situations that need to be resolved. And that's what I actually do for a living. I resolve things. A little bit different than an attorney. I try to resolve them so that things get built. And that's what I want to bring to Ward 3 and to the city of Bethany, is to get things built.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Herron.
I'm willing to go out, door knock, talk to people, talk to the constituents, see what their concerns are, listen to them, hear what their concerns are and their praises of why they actually love to live in Bethany. This is a great, small, hometown feeling town. I have served on the council for the past 14 months. I have been very involved with the council. When concerns are brought forward, I go to JD with them. We have made great progress in the last several months that JD has been here. For instance, we have been talking about large trash. Large trash keeps coming up. JD has already worked on a report that he will be presenting to us for this next upcoming fiscal year. That's already in the works. We will see, assuming budget-wise is passed, we will see things implemented, large trash. We will have a plan of implementing automated trash systems, once again pending budgets and approval by council. But that's something, that's an audit, a report that he has been working on for months since he's been here, and that is not ready to present to the council yet, but is very close. And he has spoke with the Public Works on this, getting ideas from them. He has gone to other cities and seen this program implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get back to our mayoral candidates. I've heard a lot about this 2030 plan, its implementation. Let's start with Mr. Westmoreland. What's the main thing to get implemented, how fast, and how would you implement this plan?
Well, again, I think we have to bring in businesses, and you know, somebody mentioned TIF. I think that, you know, we had a vote here recently, a few months ago, for a TIF district committee to be put together to research a piece of property by the lake. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm glad that it passed, that they are putting a TIF district committee together, but Mrs. Holloway and Mrs. Larson voted no, basically not wanting to continue the conversation any further, which to me says you're standing in the way of progress in business. I don't understand, though, why they went to the developer after the fact and asked if he would please start the development anyway before the election. I don't understand that. But I am all for business, bringing more businesses in, growing the sales tax revenue so that we can do the things we need to do. We need better lights on our streets. We need more walkability around our town. We need big trash pickup quarterly, every other month, hopefully every month eventually, so we can clean up our town. This is the best place in the world. Only 20,000 people get to call this home. So it's a blessing to get to be here.
Ms. Larson, your response.
The comprehensive plan has been designated as a 2030 plan, but I can tell you from right now, it's not going to be done in 15 years. It's a living, breathing organism that's going to come with a lot of changes along the way. It doesn't mean we don't use it. It means we take it, we embrace it, and we move forward with it. The big thing about the comprehensive plan is to make our city a better Bethany. To do that, we have to have the things that KP has said. We need new infrastructure, we need new streets, we need a whole lot of things. And how do we pay for those without going broke? Well, we look at all the avenues that are available. TIF district has been mentioned. Taxing the citizens has been mentioned. But how do we do that without putting a burden on everyone that's involved? We have to explore those, and we need to pay as we go. We don't think we're going to get paid for it. We know before we go. We've already brought in 7-Eleven. We've already brought in Sears. We've already brought in increase in the children's center. And that's all I can have right now, huh? Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Todd, how would you implement 2030?
Well, I'm not satisfied that I have the magic answer, but I can tell you I would work my heart out to make it happen. And I don't sit here and say I've got the answer to make it work, but I can say we'll work with the program to make it work.
Thank you. Back to Ward number 2, Mr. Palmer, how would you implement 2030?
I think we need to apply the comprehensive plan based upon what we can do as a city without expending any funds. Part of that would be expanding the central business district. I know in Ward 2, we've got problems with housing. We've got people that are moving in, and it's very difficult for them to update. We need a specific set of building ordinances and codes that will allow young couples and new owners to come into Ward 2 to expand, build their houses. I think those are all addressed in the comprehensive plan. There's also an issue related to whether or not people can upgrade their homes. You know, we've got this whole policy about how we're ticketing people because we need to pick up, you know, garbage and things like that. There's a small loan, there's a grant application in the comprehensive plan that would be very beneficial for the residents in Ward 2. Plus, under the Bethany District Neighborhood Association, we have to work as partners with SNU, the churches in the area, to help people update their homes. It's very important because if we don't do that, we're not going to be successful together. And that's why we should implement the comp plan. There's specific provisions in the comp plan to help us. But again, my opponent voted against that. And I'd ask you, what's the last 20 years been for your experience in Ward 2?
Ms. Holloway, your philosophy on the implementation of 2030?
Again, we've already started implementing several different items. One of them is code enforcement. There's 49 items on here. They have dates and times and things that we're going to be talking about and reviewing. In the last 20 years, we've seen Ward 2 improve. We've seen a lot of almost 100 new homes, almost 100 homes improved. We also, back to businesses and in increasing revenue. Whenever a business comes into Bethany, they have a model that they're going to go by that works for them. It doesn't take them very long to come into any city and go, you have this, 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 you don't have this, this, this. So yes or no, your city's going to work for us. So it doesn't take a lot for a business to know when they'll be able to come into the city. It's not that they don't want to work with the city or that we're hard to work with. They have a model that they know that works, such as OnQ.
Thank you. Mr. Richards?
It's got to be driven. Again, I'm going to say driven down the road, not stood back and watched and to blossom or grow, whatever you want to call it. It's got to be driven. Somebody that's willing to get out on the streets and make it happen. On cue. That particular deal right there was huge. I owned the burger grill across the street from that. You don't know how happy I was that was going in over there. And I would guess, or I would ask you to try and figure out how much that cost them. There were multi-million-dollars in property bought, swapped, purchased, and traded and able to get that over there. That wasn't happening on other businesses. The grocery store that wanted to come into town, they needed property, and the city refused to help them go get the property. And it's got trees on it with an old movie theater.
Ward number 3, Mr. Williams, what would you do about the implementation of the comprehensive 2030 plan?
Well, Mr. Richards' last comments lead us to the tools in the toolbox of the city. We've kind of skated around the issue a little bit of code enforcement and the things we've got to do there. The problem with the businesses wanting to come here, he described it very well. We had to swap property. We had to buy property. We had to do all this. We have a lot of landowners in the city who, for whatever reason, believe that their property is worth more than lots on Northwest Expressway. The traffic counts aren't there. They're being priced out of the market. And as Ms. Holloway so knowledgeably said, these companies have business models. And part of that business model is how much can I spend, how much do I have to spend to acquire the property? And if they can't get it at the price they want, they move right on down the road because they're in the business of making a profit. We have to recognize that and we have to follow through on that. And if we have to move towards condemnation to move that forward, we may have to.
Mr. Herron.
Thank you. First of all, if you guys have not read the comprehensive plan, I would encourage you to do so. You can find the link on the website. In that comprehensive plan are action items that are already identified on what needs to be done. We need to implement those action items using 1, 2, 3, 5, 10-year goals. Some of those action items are going to cost more than others. Some of them are inexpensive. It talks about creating a district on 23rd Street to revitalize it. Some of those may be less expensive that will include trees, landscaping, new signage, new lighting. So we have to prioritize on years, how far out we can do it, and what we can fit in yearly with our existing budget.
Thank you. All right, you heard today that the governor has decided she would like to propose no sales tax on groceries. How would that affect the city of Bethany, and if it was enacted, what would you do about it? Mr. Westmoreland, we start with you.
Well, as far as groceries, I think, like Donnie said, we need more grocery stores. I would like for it to greatly impact the city of Bethany, but right now, I mean, what do we got? A couple grocery stores. We need a, neighborhood Walmart. We need some more options for grocery stores. That's what I think. The other thing I'd like to add is, we need to listen to the people. Several people have said we need to listen to the people. Think about this building right here. This is not ADA compliant. If you have a disability, you can't come to the microphone here. We don't have an elevator over there. We got a shaft. It's been bricked up. We need to listen to the people. This is a place that we all have to live in, that we all have to function in, and it needs to be beautiful for everybody. And so I think the city council and the person that happens to be mayor needs to listen to the people first and foremost, and that is the main concern.
Ms. Larson?
I'm going to ask you to repeat the question and into the mic.
Sure. The governor today proposed doing away with sales tax on groceries. How would that affect the city of Bethany? And if it's enacted, what would you do in terms of going forward in this community?
Yes. I'm not for neighborhood grocery, Sprouts maybe, Uptown Grocery. I want something a little better.
I'll go for Uptown Grocery. Uptown Grocery.
That's one way that we can get sales tax into our city. I think that listening to the citizens is something I've been pushing for a very long time, years in the past. We have to clean up the city first to get the businesses in here, but we also need the businesses in here to help pay for those things. I'm not sure that fixing this building for ADA compliant is going to meet all the needs, because it is under law right now. I came into this building in it not being hearing aid compatible. It now is. So when we have those issues, a wheelchair can come into the building and sit in this room, and we do have accommodations to get them to the people that they need to come. That's a whole lot less expensive than paying for an elevator or to rebuild this already redecorated chamber. I think that we have to look at all of the avenues, and we have to move forward after we've done that.
Mr. Todd, let me ask you this, because I heard it talked about. My feeling is that people want more grocery stores out here. What would you do about that?
Well, first of all, I'm not necessarily in favor of what the governor has proposed. I think that would hurt our local economy here in Bethany. Yes, I'd love to see an upscale grocery store in the city of Bethany. So the question was originally, how would that affect Bethany? I haven't seen the sales tax reports to say how much is groceries and how much is this and how much is that. So I'm not sure what the percentages are. I haven't seen those numbers, but I can tell you it would hurt. Now, the second part of your question is, or was, what would we do about it? I don't know that we'd have any choice, but we'd have to diversify in some manner, find other tax revenues, but that would hurt the city of Bethany. So what would we do? We would have to look at every option on the table, and that's when we start listening to citizens and say, hey, folks, we're going to have a shortfall of this much. What can we do to make it up?
Thank you, sir. Let's go to Ward number 2. Mr. Palmer, you've heard some of the suggestions the governor made. There is going to be introduction of doing away with sales tax on groceries. People want grocery stores, different philosophies about what kind of grocery stores. Where are you at on this issue?
Well, first of all, I disagree with Governor Fallon. Sales tax revenue primarily from grocery stores is vital to a city economy. Whether it's Bethany, whether it's Pauls Valley where my in-laws live, they have to have that sales tax revenue. So we do whatever we can to prevent that from happening. The other option is we should look for other revenue sources. A great example is the city of Nichols Hills. They buy water rights. They have income. They have a system set up where they have insulated themselves so that they can have the benefit of funds available, so that they can provide for their citizens, so that they can meet their needs and infrastructure needs. I also think, and it's been kicked around, I buy stuff on Amazon all the time. I think that's a huge source of sales tax revenue that could become a reality in Oklahoma. And that's the real issue we should talk to Governor Mary Fallon about. And the fact is, we only have one grocery store in Bethany anyway. So we need to do everything we can. If it's expanding the central business district, if it's changing the zoning, if it's doing whatever we can, we need to give businesses the priority in Bethany because they drive how we have infrastructure.
Thank you, Ms. Holloway. Your thoughts?
Yes, I was very disappointed to hear what Mary Fallon had to say today about grocery sales tax because, yes, that will possibly devastate Bethany, Oklahoma if we do away with sales tax on groceries. In the past, sales tax on groceries was a very high percentage of our income, but we do have more restaurants now, so the grocery versus the restaurant sales tax is kind of going like this now. So that is a good thing that we've gotten more restaurants into the city of Bethany to kind of forestall some of this that's getting ready to possibly happen. But we'll just have to see. I can't predict the future, but I can tell you I will fight. I am a fighter. I am persistent. I have the courage to go out and talk to the people that other people say, oh, they wouldn't listen to us. I talked to Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb. I talk with our county commissioners. I talk with our senators, and I will fight for Bethany. I want to keep Bethany a viable city, and I will do that.
Thank you, Ms. Holloway. Mr. Richards, the governor's plan's not getting any votes here. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure she's getting any votes this evening. What are your thoughts about this particular issue? Grocery stores, if the sales tax on groceries were taken away, how would it impact the community?
Well, as I told you earlier, I voted yes on the library, so I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and try to hide how I would vote on the grocery sales tax. No, that is not what needs to happen. That would devastate communities all over this state. And from listening to everybody here, it sounds really to me that not too many people like to shop at the current grocery stores we have in Bethany. And matter of fact, if we had the ones that have been mentioned, our town would look a lot different right now, because I can tell you there is not a Sprouts going to go in to the strip mall over in 23rd and Council. It doesn't appeal to them. And of course, the grocery store I was referring to, just so you know, everybody's getting some advertisement here, is Crest Foods wanted to come to this town.
Well, you're making me hungry, if nothing else. All right, let's finish up with Ward 3. Mr. Williams, some thoughts on the sales tax, grocery sales tax, and impact on this community if it went away?
Okay. First off, that wasn't all that Governor Fallon said. She also said that she was looking at modernizing the sales tax, which means that we're going to start taxing services. So a law firm that provides $2 or $3 million worth of services every year is now going to be taxed. An engineering firm, which is near and dear to my heart, is now going to be taxed. So although she's taking away the groceries, which on the face of it looks devastating to the city, she was going to add back in all the professional services. So what we need to do is figure out if there's a balance there. Okay? Now, as far as the number of grocery stores go in the town, I know for sure that there's 3 because I shop at all of them. And one of the things that we don't want to do is get in bed with Walmart, ever. I have seen that devastate more towns than I would care to think about.
Mr. Herron?
I actually think it's a good idea. I fortunately stay up a little bit with the state politics, and I did hear about it today. Her proposal was to eliminate the state's portion 4% tax rate, but not the city's portion. In our case, would be 4.5%. Food, water are necessities of life. Pharmaceuticals, people that are on fixed income, if we can give them relief through the state with lower sales tax, food, pharmaceuticals, that's a great thing for our state, and that's going to attract people to move to our state. So what she proposed was eliminating the state's 4% sales tax. That was the way I understand it. So we would still have our 4.5% sales tax. And something we will have to do is lobby the state to make sure that's the way that it goes, that we do keep our 4.5 city sales tax.
Thank you. Let's go to some 30-second questions here. Let's start back over here at Ward 3. Mr. Williams, one of our attendees tonight, says Bethany has a shortfall of sidewalk, street repairs, signage. What would you do to address this issue?
That goes back to decisions that were made a long time ago with building code and code enforcement. The problem was developers pushed to have sidewalks removed from the developments. It will be a long time fixing it. We have those famous sidewalks to nowhere that come from federal grant programs. Where you put an intersection in, you have to put in sidewalks to terminate, but they don't go anywhere. It's part of the grant requirement. So it could take 20, 30 years for the city to reasonably pay for sidewalks, and they need to be done. Sidewalks make strong communities.
Mr. Herron, 30 seconds. What is your plan in terms of taking care of these street repairs and sidewalks?
Yes, sidewalks. We received a grant this year from ODOT. We have $250,000 for sidewalks on our commercial corridors, and hopefully construction will begin this year. We are also applying for a grant as soon as it opens in 2017. It is entitled Safe Routes to School Grants, and that will give us also additional federal funding. That is by the Federal Department of Transportation for sidewalks.
Mr. Todd?
I'm like my compadre here, that I have looked at that, and I do know that there is grant money available, and I would encourage the city to pursue every grant opportunity available, and I think we can fix it much faster than 20 or 30 years, because I think money is out there to be had to fix that problem.
Ms. Larson?
I think it's important that the grant monies that we look for, we understand that that's not readily available very often. We have a grant that was given to us several years ago, and just this year have we been told that the money will come through. We have done our homework ahead of time. We have areas marked for those sidewalks as soon as the money is in hand. There's not only grant money, there's other money out there that we can look for, and I think if we limit ourselves just to one area of searching for funds to help us, that we are not being prudent users of our position in the city. I think that where we put those sidewalks needs to come where there's already traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Westmoreland?
I'm all for searching out the bonds and things like that and the grant money. You know, I always wanted to win the lottery, but I'm not willing to buy a lottery ticket. And in talking to a lot of people want sidewalks. They don't want it to take up their yard, and they don't want to pay for it. I think we need to let the people voice their opinion, and maybe that's one of the things we do. It's a grant, you know, it's bond money, it's, you know, what do? Raise property tax so we can pay for some sidewalks. Sidewalks aren't going to fit in every single location in this city because it just doesn't work everywhere. but that needs to happen, and it needs to happen quickly.
Mr. Richards, same question.
I would go along with everybody that's ready to drive the truck and get moving. I don't think it needs to take 20 or 30 years. There's grant money out there. Yeah, it takes a while for it to fund, to get into the bucket, so the bucket can be tipped and poured into our bucket. I'm sure that does take time, and I know it does. But I believe that that needs to happen. Walkability was said at another meeting, and that just to me is it. I mean, we need a walkability city. We have too many people that need to get around and can't.
Ms. Holloway?
Thank you. Yes, we do need more sidewalks in the city, but again, it does take a while to get this grant money. It was 6 years in getting the money that Ms. Larson was just talking about. I do think walkability is good. I do believe it needs to be within our neighborhoods. In Old Bethany, Ward 2, there is some instances that are very different than the other wards. A lot of the streets were dirt roads to begin with and were just overlaid. So there's a lot of issues there, but I will work to get that and have had some roads repaired.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer?
We definitely need more sidewalks, no question. We've got a new city manager. I don't know if you've met him, but he's very competent and he knows exactly what he's doing. And we need to get J.D. Cox an opportunity to do his job. And part of that job is to put grants, apply for grants, find funding, and allow the city of Bethany to get new funds for sidewalks. You know, I want to have a city council that works together. I want to have a city council that can make decisions together. I want to have a city council that J.D. Cox can rely on to let him do his job. And part of that is finding the grant money for new sidewalks.
Thank you. Let's go back down the way we just came from and start back here with Ward 2 on this one, a little different direction. One of our viewers has asked, what do you plan to do to increase diversity and make Bethany more inclusive? We'll start with you, Mr. Palmer.
Well, I think first starts with our school system. We have one of the best schools in the state, and we have an opportunity with our school system to allow people to come in, to understand, to appreciate what we have. The other thing is we need to have affordable housing, and we need to have a good amount of housing that's available for different types of socio-economic players in the neighborhood. And we also need to allow acceptable rental rates and upkeep for rental property. I think those are three factors that would allow us to have an environment where we have a socially integrated city here in Bethany.
Thank you. Mrs. Holloway?
I think Bethany is a very integrated or inclusive city in our neighborhoods, in our schools. You know, it's just the way I feel about our United States. I feel like we should say we are all Bethanyites. I think we should say we're all Americans, not African Americans, not Native Americans. I believe we're all Americans, and I believe that we are all from Bethany, and we need to work together.
Thank you. Mr. Richards?
I believe that we have a quite diverse population in Bethany. But to make it more diverse, we need to be more open, more friendly, more the businesses. I mean, it goes back to businesses again. I mean, different ethnicities use different types of businesses for different things. And we need to be open to everything and not just specific things. And just because we don't want to do that doesn't mean that somebody else in our town doesn't want to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Westmoreland?
Love. It's simple as that in my book. There's so much hate in the world, so quick to find an argument, some drama to throw up and to stir up. Some people just aren't happy with their day unless they've created or dealt with some kind of drama. You know what? If we just love one another, this place would be so much better. You know, diversity, yeah, we need businesses that cater to different ethnicities and stuff like that. I mean, that has to happen. You know, something as simple as smiling. I come across people every day that don't even smile. What's wrong with that? You know, we just need more love.
The unhappy ones are Atlanta Falcon fans.
Yes.
Ms. Larson,
Repeat the question, Scott.
the question is, what would you do to increase diversity and make Bethany more inclusive?
How to make it more inclusive?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first of all, we have more than one school district in Bethany, in case somebody forgot. We both have that, and then we have private schools as well. And we do need to work together with every one of those entities. We aren't just Bethany School. It's a great school. Putnam City's a great school. Private schools are great schools. And we need to acknowledge that and embrace that. Yeah, we need to love one another. We need to be kind to one another. We may not like what somebody does or says, but that doesn't mean we can't be human and be nice to them. The city of Bethany's already loved. We need to keep loving.
Thank you. Mr. Todd.
I'm taking a different view on that stuff because I think we're already there. And if we're not, I think KP's got the right thing. People will walk around. Well, that's one person, but the whole city is not graded on that one person. And I find up and down the streets of Bethany is wonderful people, and I love living in Bethany.
Thank you. Mr. Herron.
Yes, a couple of things we could do on that. We could continue the bus route down 23rd, up Rockwell and up Council to help include all of the city. We create a district on 23rd Street, 39th Street. We could do ethnic food district. How cool would that be to go to a short period or a short distance on 23rd, 39th and have multiple ethnic foods?
Mr. Williams.
I agree with Kathy. Ms. Larson. We have two school districts, two public school districts, several private school districts. And we already are diverse. If you go down on 23rd Street, you go through the city, you'll find pretty much every ethnic identity in the city of Bethany. And I don't think we've got any huge problem with that. Now, I like John's food idea there, but I'd do one better. I'd actually try and take the food truck arena away from the city of Oklahoma City and make that part of Bethany.
All right. Thank you. We'll take a little quick 7-thing stretch here. I have an announcement to make that Jill told me to do, so I'm happy to do this. The folks who helped to bring this tonight are the members of the Government Affairs Committee that are helping on this. If you are here, hold your hand up. Kirk Jackson, Pat Lewis, Terrence Kraft, and Nikki Gabbard with the City of Bethany. Give them a hand for putting this on. So let's go back to our original. Let's take about a minute on these answers. Our original order that we had. Let's start with Mr. Westmoreland. How would the separation of church and state influence your work in city government?
Well, I can't separate my faith from who I am, nor would I ever even attempt to do so. I believe everybody has a choice to make, and it's their right to do so, what they choose to believe. I would never force my faith upon anybody. This position, this job is all about the improvement of Bethany and our community. And so that's what I'm focused on. What I do in my career, my professional career, is one thing. This is about the citizens and the city of Bethany. And so whatever we have to do to move this forward is what we're going to do.
Ms. Larson, how would the concept of separation of church and state influence your work in city government?
What one believes they're entitled to by the federal government. Whether I agree with that or not is really immaterial. As far as how it affects me and being in the position of the mayor, I'll be the first to announce my faith is what sustains me, even at this moment. Talking about your faith and living it are two different things, whatever your religion is. Amen. But I think as KP has mentioned, where we have been and what we've done has laid the groundwork for he and I both as we want to become your mayor. And I think what hinges forth in the person that you choose is someone that has background that leads them to be the best mayor for the citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Todd.
I would probably take issue with the question itself, because no place in the Constitution does it say there's a separation of church and state. It does not say as much. I can tell you unashamedly, I am Christian. I believe that. I live that. I try to radiate that. And that influences my decision. And if the people of the city of Bethany don't like that, then they don't have to vote for me. But that is my belief. I will believe Christian principles.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Herron.
Yes. Our faith, our morals, it's who I am. But the city is a business, and we must run it like a business. Definitely our faith will influence. It's how we live our life. It's how we act. It's how we portray ourselves. But we continue to run the city like a business.
Mr. Williams.
I was raised apostolic, and what that means is that's hell and brimstone, fire, thundering preaching, and camp meetings every summer till I was, till I moved out of the house in my 20s and went to college. He's quite correct. There is nothing in the Constitution that says there is a separation between church and state. It doesn't matter what your faith is, as long as it's moral and upright. But it's part of you. The only thing the Constitution says is that we can't make a law enforcing a specific religion. We can't support one religion over another. That's all it says. And yes, my faith is part of me, and I believe it.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Richards, the concept of church and state, or the separation of church and state, how does that affect you?
Sorry. It doesn't. I have been brought up in faith. I believe this town was early founded by a lot of faith. It takes faith to walk out every day and to do things. You just take some of the names of the streets in this town. Peniel. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that means face of God. I don't think it would change anything. I think it would give us an even better footing to do the things we need to do. And it would not have any effect on the way we run a business.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Holloway?
Thank you. I would never, with the help of my Savior, ever deny him. So I will work and live my life and let people know that I do believe in Jesus as my Savior. I believe as we work with the city that we have to have integrity, we have to have honesty, we have to be able to discuss things openly with each other and still be able to look each other in the eye and continue working together. You cannot have egos that fight against each other. You have to continue working with each other. That's what the city needs. That's what I've tried to do in these 20 years, is to continue working with people that we may not agree on everything all the time, but we should continue having open discussion and working. And again, in my faith, in the Christian faith, that's what it's all about. Faith is a reality of the unseen. And for Bethany, we will have that reality.
Thank you. And Mr. Palmer?
I'm a Christian, unapologetically. That drives who I am, what I do every day, every second of my life. My relationship with the Lord is the most important thing that I have. It's I rely on that, and it's something that I want to show my children. I want to be an example. I want to live a Christ-like life. But the other part of that is, I think under the Constitution, we all have equal protection under the law. And so we should respect gender, race, and make sure that that is a part of our city government. And it's very important for me. I mean, we have the 14th, 15th, the amendments, the civil rights movement. Those were all very large issues that we had addressed in our nationwide history. And I think we need to protect and have equal protection of laws to all parties in the city of Bethany, and they should have access to city government just like everybody else. That's how the relationship between the church and state would affect my decisions on the city council.
Thank you. Thank you all for your answers. Well, it's time for the ninth inning. So let's go into our wrap-ups. You'll each have 60 seconds for closing statements. And while you're all thinking about that, why don't we start with Mr. Todd, because you have the least hard sell here tonight, apparently. So 60 seconds for closing statements. And Mr. Todd, please lead us off.
Well, thank you very much. I would love the opportunity to serve the citizens of Bethany, Ward 1, for one more term. And I think that we, as a city, have got a great start with the comprehensive plan. We've got a new city manager. We've got everything going for us. Now, I want to help keep the momentum going in our favor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's finish up with Ward 3. Mr. Herron, why don't you go first on the way out here? Mr. Herron, you have 60 seconds for closing statements.
Yes. I'm entrenched in Bethany. My family and I live here. I own a business here. My kids attend school here. We attend church here. We shop here. We love eating at the local restaurants here. I am invested in Bethany in its past, in its present, and in the future. I want the city to be a place where my kids will be proud of and that they will want to put down roots and also invest in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Arvell Williams.
As I said in my opening statement, a couple of years ago, we got involved in some zoning issues. And the city, through that, the group that did that, we had a political awakening, and we have choices. And I'm going to ask all of you to take a look at the candidates for all of them up here and look at the experience, look at what they've actually done for the city, look what has happened while they've been involved. We need to understand that experience, knowing how cities work, knowing the law associated with cities, and working on the issues that have influence now and will continue to have influence 20 or 30 years down the road are the things we have to consider. A short-term goal is not going to help the city of Bethany. We need to consider our decisions. We need to make them weighty decisions and understand that they have implications now and in the future.
Thank you, sir. Let's turn to Ward number 3 for closing statements. Let's begin with Mr. Richards.
Sorry. 1942 is when my family arrived here, my grandparents. It was a town of just over 2,000, and it grew to in 1969 to just over 20,000, and currently we're under that. A lot of things changed. We went from a one-person police department to a 26-person police department, noted by the country as being the best equipped police department in the country. The fire department grew. We built a new fire building. We grew that. The library, and I'm going to steal something that I saw. We're building a new library. It's a community living room. That's a great start, and we need to push on forward. I want you to know I'm tired, and I'm ready to get out of the rut, and I'm ready to push this down the road and get things moving. And I ask for your vote on the 14th.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Holloway.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Matt Montgomery, Scott Mitchell, Jill McCartney, the Government Affairs for putting this on this evening, and for the citizens, you taking time out of your precious time to be here this evening. This is very important, and I thank you for being here. I would also like to thank Dr. Lauren Gresham for his 22 years as coach and a professor at Southern Nazarene University, and for his 28 years as president. And also I'd like to mention our city attorney has been with us for 40 years, and I thank him for that 40 years of experience. I have 20 years experience. I hope that you consider that. I believe I'm the best candidate for Ward 2. And I humbly ask you to consider voting to re-elect me, Kathy Holloway, as your city council representative to serve you and to promote open government citizen involvement, economic development, and keeping Bethany a viable city. We have momentum going. Let's keep the momentum going forward. Vote Holloway.
Thank you, Ms. Holloway. Mr. Palmer.
We're at a point in Bethany where we're at a crossroads. We have an opportunity for greatness. I want my children to live here. I want my children to come back here. I want my children to be proud of the fact that they're from Bethany, Oklahoma. We have an opportunity to implement the comprehensive plan. We have a solution. We have things that we can do right now. I want Bethany to be a showcase for the metropolitan area, and I want people to understand that the Bethany City Council works together to make positive progress and to listen to their residents and to understand what they want and how they want things implemented. I want to work with the major players in this city. I want to work with SNU. I want to work with the universities. I want to work with the Children's Hospital. I want to be able to get together all of these powers that be and find a way to create even more momentum. Because the fact of the matter is the Bethany residents deserve better, and we can do better, and we can get this done in a timely manner. We just have to have the courage to go about our business and get it done right. That's why I think you should vote for Steve Palmer for Bethany City Council. And you have to remember, the last 20 years, is there anything you want to make better? Now's your opportunity to do that. So I would ask for your vote on Valentine's Day.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's end with the candidates for mayor. Let's begin with Ms. Larson.
Thank you.
You have the floor.
Thank you. This election is crucial to the success and the needs of our great city being met in a professional and prudent manner, a manner that will leave the future generations with the means to continue the job that we start. I exert due diligence on the items that come before the council. Many citizens throughout Bethany know I willingly seek to assist them and listen to them for the betterment of our city and to address their concerns. I want to do this for Bethany, not for personal gain or glory. I have the education. I have worked tirelessly. I am a team player. I do and will fully support those I represent. I do not shy from the details or the tasks or the actions necessary for our city. I have a love and I have a passion for the people of Bethany. I have a vision, and that's the people's vision. I have the time, I have the talents, the desire to see the works in process completed and new ones initiated and carried through. I respectfully ask for your consideration and your vote on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And I thank all of you for being here tonight and those out there as well. And thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Mr. Westmoreland.
The greatest book ever written says that blessed is the man that leaves an inheritance for his children's children. We have an opportunity as a community to leave Bethany as an inheritance for our children and our children's children. What kind of inheritance do you want to leave them in the form of Bethany? It would be my pleasure and honor to serve you as mayor. You know, at the end of the day, we're all family, and we're all going to have to come together and unite and move forward. I'm a third-generation Bethany citizen. My granddad moved here in the 40s. He served on the city council. My dad served on the city council, and here I am running for mayor. It's because I believe in Bethany, but more importantly, I believe in you. This is your city. What do you want it to be? Now is your time to make it better. I believe our greatest days are in front of us, and we have to go get there. We have to make it happen. We can't just talk about it and make it just some little dream. It has to become reality.
Mr. Richard, may I ask a consideration?
Please.
I forgot a while ago to mention someone that's retiring, and I appreciate their service also. I inadvertently left Dr. Kent Schellenberger off of that thank you a while ago for his years of service at Bethany Public Schools as superintendent. He's done a great job, and I'm very thankful that we've had him all these years.
Thank you. Well, thank you all. Audience, would you give these folks who offering their service to you a hand? Thank you. And thank you all for being here. Ms. McCartney.
Well, on behalf of the Tribune and the Chamber, it's been a pleasure working together to bring you this as has been mentioned, Bethany's at a real critical juncture, and we are excited that we'll have a new mayor to work with our new city manager, and soon we will have a new president of the university as well as superintendent to go with our new library and the new children's center. This is a time of renaissance for this community, and it's going to take a lot of work, not just from this side of the horseshoe, but from this side of it. So citizens, get ready. It's time for activation, and we are pleased to be here, a part of it, and thank the city for hosting us here tonight. Thank you, Scott.